Hey guys, welcome back to my kitchen. I'm Chef Marco Niccoli. I'm thrilled to have you back. We're gonna do one of the most popular things in the restaurant industry right now is gourmet toasts. People are doing them for brunch, breakfast, dinners, appetizers, and they're really simple. Chefs have taken maybe a little more complex ingredients and added to toast, but in general, they're really simple to do and they're a great way to start off an event at your house. Obviously with our EDGEhome, we love having people over and entertaining. So we love doing toasts with our guests. So today we're doing a whipped goat cheese that has blueberries, fresh blueberries whipped into it. Then we're gonna do a toast out of just a French loaf. You could do it with any kind of bread you would like. You could even do it with wheat bread if you're looking for a healthier alternative. And then we're gonna go ahead and finish it with some fresh bean sprouts. So to get started, we're gonna take this loaf, and I love Harmon's for fresh bread because they're using really nice ovens that get you that crispy outside, but the really soft inside. So you could cut it one of two ways, either straight like this, but once again, you wanna do it kind of thick so that the center stays soft and the outside gets crisp when we put it in the oven. Or if you would like, a lot of guys are doing it at a bias, at an angle, which allows you to have more surface space to cook on or to present on. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it on a biased, kind of long ways. And with these ends that I'm not using, you could chop them up and turn them into croutons. So just cube them up, throw them in a pan with a little butter, salt, garlic, and you have wonderful croutons that you can put in your pantry, and they last for a few weeks, to be honest, and then it's a great little condiment for any salad that you may be making. We're gonna go ahead and lay these out. The other thing that I love so much about toast is they don't have to be perfect, right? Like there's no perfect piece of bread. So I love getting my kids involved, obviously not with the cutting process, but you know, cooking should be fun. As a kid growing up in an Italian home, cooking was where we came together as a family. And it's always been an important part of my life. And so I'd like to pass that on to my kids. So my kids love getting in the kitchen, and one of their favorite recipes to do is a variety of different toasts. So we now have all these cut up, as you can see. We're just laying them on a sheet pan, kind of spread out. And we have one of our ovens on 400 degrees. Once again, these commercial ovens cook really hot, and they're just so great. Edge allows us to put those into our home and kind of customize them in that way. And they really work really great. If your oven cooks a little cooler, you might want to have a higher temperature because what we're looking for is just a kind of a crispy toasted outside and soft in the middle. I'm putting a little bit of an olive oil. This is one that I like. You can get it at a Harmon's, Whole Foods. I think even like a Smith's or a Kroger's carries this brand, but you do want to use a really nice olive oil, and you're looking for a dark olive oil, almost like a yellowy tint, and that's a way to tell that it's a really nice olive oil. Drizzle that over the top, and we're gonna go ahead and just throw these in the oven. And I like to keep them in the middle, so not all the way high on a rack or low on a rack, just right in the center will get you the most even cook. So we're gonna go ahead and just move those over to the side, kind of brush off my board. Once again, it's so nice to have the sinker right here in the middle island so that everything is close, that I can work all in one place and I'm not having to run around all the time. So we're gonna go ahead and get goat cheese. I love goat cheese. It has a very mild flavor, especially when you add these blueberries to it. It sweetens it up. But then you get this velvety, almost like a mascarpone texture. And goat cheese here in Utah is really common, and we actually produce goat cheese here. So I love using goat cheese whenever I can. I just don't tell my kids that I'm using it, and then they love it, right? So we're gonna go ahead and put that goat cheese in there, and then fresh blueberries also into the KitchenAid. And then we'll just use this same whisk attachment. And you do want your goat cheese to be at about room temperature. It just allows it to mix much easier. And we're gonna go ahead and go on a medium temp and then go check the toast in the oven. So start we're gonna go ahead and start at that medium and let it start to come together. Let's just take a peek at the oven. Yeah, we're still good there. And then let's go ahead and turn this up because you want to break up those blueberries because then that beautiful blue color works its way into the goat cheese. Let that go. While that's going, we'll kind of clean up our area. Okay. Once again, if you're using a recipe that doesn't have a ton of ingredients, you're gonna wanna scrape the sides about halfway through the process. But this is also one that my wife and I love doing in bulk and then just putting it in the fridge because believe it or not, this is also great on like a bagel in the morning, just a substitute for cream cheese, much, much healthier for you. And it lasts, I mean, I've never let it last because we go through it so fast, but it should last in your fridge for up to a month. And then you can just pull it out as needed. And then it's easier in your KitchenAid as well because you have more ingredients. At this point, we can also add cracked pepper. I love cracked pepper and I always use cracked pepper. So if you have table pepper or table salt in your house, go home and throw it away. Trust me, it makes a world of difference in flavor, and table salt is actually really, really bad for you. And people talk all the time like, oh, I don't want a ton of salt in my food. Well, really good salt, like a sea salt that is manufactured here in the United States and the process, is actually really good. And it's a huge part of flavoring your food. But if you're using a table salt, it is bad for you. So go home, throw your table salt away, and just buy a kosher salt. If you don't want to invest in a high-end salt right now, just go buy a kosher salt from your grocery store. Every grocery store carries it, and it'll be a much better product. But I always use cracked pepper, and I just keep a fresh cracker in the kitchen. You can also crack it in bulk and then just have it in a little jar. We also do that so that you don't have to, it kind of saves a step. We'll go ahead and turn that back on and mix those ingredients together a little bit more. You'll start to see that the blueberries are opening up and it's just kind of turning it a light purple. As it sits in the fridge, it will get more and more purple if you'd like it to. So this is something you could certainly do ahead of time before your guests arrive to save one more thing that you have to do the day of your event. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this off now. And we'll just kind of work it the last little bit together with a rubber spatula. And I like this. I mean, you could mix it all the way through if you wanted. I'll show you here in a second. You could mix it all the way through, but I actually like seeing the big chunks of blueberry in there. I think that it shows your guests and the people you're serving food to that you're using fresh ingredients, that this isn't a frozen blueberry or a blueberry jam that has tons and tons of sugar in it. This is a fresh blueberry that you can actually see in the product. So we have that done, and we're just gonna have that sitting there. Let's check on our toast really quick that we have going in the oven at 400 degrees. Yeah, so they're perfect. What I'm looking for is just a little bit of a crunch on the outside. If they're really have a ton of color on them, they're gonna be hard to eat and they're gonna crumble and kind of make a mess all over your house. So you just want them to just have a little bit of a crunch, but be soft enough still to eat. I love that I have a drawer right here next to my oven because then I have my oven mitts super available for me to use every time I'm using my oven. So I set up one so we can bring this hot pan and just set it right here. So that's how they're gonna look finished, right? So the bottom, I actually always use the bottom because it's got a little more of the crust on it, which is important because when you put this soft goat cheese on it, it is gonna kind of soak in. And so you want that crispy outside of the toast so that it can absorb and not get mushy. Or mushy is a weird word. How about soft? So it doesn't get soft. So I'm gonna flip these over, and you do wanna let them rest just for a sec. If they're too hot, your goat cheese will completely melt. And I have a board. I love these boards. I get it actually from Target, but I know people that make them. It's just presentation is half of the party, right? You want your food to look super pretty when it's being presented. So I have a board ready, and this is the assembly line that my kids really love getting involved in. So what we're gonna do is just take a piece of toast and take some of this butter. You know what? I'm gonna use a different, you could use a spreader or just like a butter knife. It just allows you to work it a little bit better in your hands. We're gonna just spread this, and as you can see, the blueberries are starting to open up and kind of brighten. And we're just gonna do one at a time. So this is where my kids really love getting involved. It's a super easy part of the process that they can do. And it doesn't have to be perfect, right? It can be a lot of cheese or a little cheese. It's completely up to you. We're just gonna do this. And then at the end, you could add a dried fruit if you wanted to. I don't, but you could just for textual purposes. Like whenever I cook professionally, one of the big things I'm always looking for is texture and multiple textures. So I want something crunchy, I want something smooth, I want something that gives me a bite. And that really kind of entertains the mouth while you're eating. So I'm gonna head and just do a few. So we're gonna lay them out real nicely on this board. And then you can have this, you could actually do these ahead as well and just have them on a sheet pan, maybe in your butler pantry or in your pantry waiting so that you don't have to be doing stuff while your guests are here. And we're gonna do a little bit of that finishing salt, but instead I'm just gonna use a normal sea salt, not one with any flavor. And then a little more cracked pepper. And I like the way that cracked pepper looks on the board, so I go ahead and do this on the board. If you don't, you could do it on your cutting board and then you don't have the bits and pieces of cracked pepper. So with this is just a bean sprout. I like bean sprouts because they taste really fresh and it brightens up the presentation, right? So that's super key, is you want as many different colors or textures, both visually and in your mouth while you're eating. So these bean sprouts really just brighten this dish up, and they add a little bit of flavor, but really they're just for presentation, and you can buy them at the grocery store. You could do fresh herbs of any kind that you like. And then that's really it. Super simple, really easy to do, and impress your guests when they come over for sure. So thanks for hanging out in my kitchen with me, and I hope you stay tuned to our next recipe.